Hello and welcome to Unprofessional Engineering. My name is James.
And you got Luke.
Luke, today we're
You can't even say it, can you?
we're going to be talking about dairy farming.
Okay, well, first of all,
Yeah,
you're welcome.
you heard me, dairy farming.
Yeah, well, the reason why it was interesting was I watched this little documentary about organic dairy farming, specifically for Stonyfields, who is our official sponsor, I think. Not sure if I can say that.
I don't think so, but sure.
We're just saying that.
They don't listen.
And it was really interesting because it was all about organic farming. And then when I looked at like regular farming, there's so much technology that I thought we kind of had to talk about. Not that we're going to go into every little detail, but I thought it was interesting.
Okay, so how about we start with the basics?
Yes.
So the basics came to me thanks to dairy design engineers of Gainesville, Florida.
Ooh, okay.
And so now I know all sorts of stuff about that. But fun fact, Gainesville, Florida is where some of the members of Less Than Jake are from. It's
I don't know what Less Than Jake
pop
is.
punk ska band from, I don't know, the 90s? They're probably still around.
Okay.
Anyways, one of the buildings, I think I break it down into like 6 different sections, would be the milking center.
Okay.
They are dairy cows after all.
They are dairy
so they
cows.
need milked. So this is the heart and soul of every dairy farm, or so says dairy design engineers.
Okay.
That's an exact quote.
Exact.
And there's 2 types. There's parallel, and I think that's what we're used to seeing. And that's kind of where they get the cows all lined up in one straight line, and then they have the machines that they milk them with. And then there's also a rotary option, which is more efficient and more effective and becoming more popular in like large farms. So they kind of get them in a big circle and then milk them that way. That's all I have about milking centers.
Okay, now are we going to talk specifically about like the way they milk them a little bit later? Because I got some. Okay.
Oh yeah, let me just bust through the different parts of the
okay.
farm. Animal housing, because I didn't think about all this stuff. I'm like, yeah, you have cows, they're eating grass. They sit down when it's going to rain, and that's what happens.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear that before? Like
They sit
all
down
the
when it
cows
rains?
are like lying in the grass, whatever they're doing in the grass.
Okay.
That means it's going to rain. Have you ever heard
Really?
that? I don't think it's true.
Well, you grew up basically in farm country.
With the cows. I was raised by the cows.
Yeah, basically. So
Yeah.
you would know better than I would, but I've never heard that before.
Okay. Animal housing. And the big part here is the ventilation, because they're stinky and it gets hot, potentially, or
Lots
cold.
and lots of turds.
So there are some that are naturally ventilated, which is basically just a big pavilion. Like, it would normally have picnic tables at it for us, but
instead,
they have cows in it.
hundreds of cows.
Right. They have tunnel ventilated freestyle barns, so these are for the really hot and humid climates. And so they're really good at keeping them cooled down. And they basically just have big tubes.
Yeah, and basically draws air through it and
Right.
keeps it smelling relatively well. And
Slightly less bad.
yeah.
Cross-ventilated.
Okay.
And this has only shown up in the last 10 years. So, in fact, there is new technology going into the dairy farming industry.
Tons of new technology, apparently.
And I always thought that, like, in jest, like what's changed? But there actually is a lot of tech out there. And these are really good for colder climates. So harsh winters, I guess, like Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, places like that probably take advantage of this a lot more.
Okay.
There's desert climate barns, and then there's the open lot housing system, which I think is just like with slapped up a fence.
And I also think that certain types of producers do different things. Like I know organic farming is all about like free range. I'm
Right.
pretty sure
Right.
to be considered organic, the cows have to graze and eat grass, basically untreated grass. I think it's like 85% of their
Oh, it's not
intake.
100%?
No, they're but
I feel so lied to.
the grain they eat still needs to be organic, but they can't be fed a grain diet more than a certain percentage. And I think it's like 85% of their diet needs to be from grazing openly. That's
Is that the only milk that Whole Foods sells you?
I'd buy it at Trader Joe's sometimes too.
Okay, that makes it okay then.
Yeah.
There's also feed centers, which I thought, this is where they feed the cows. This is where you have a fancy barn for storing stuff, like hay. And do you know what this is? What is it? S-I-L-A-G-E? Silage?
It's a type of feed, right?
Yeah, it's like grass and other greens.
Okay.
All smashed
Yeah, they
down
mix
and
it
stored
together.
up. Yeah. Then my favorite, and probably your favorite, manure management.
I love turd management.
Yeah, there's lots of cow poops going on. There's the old hydraulic flush system, so it's the most cost-effective one, and it kind of is like a toilet.
The thing that I didn't realize, because I've been on a handful of dairy farms.
Were you a cow hand?
No, I wasn't. But
were you one of those guys that dresses up like a cow or as a clown and the cows charge you?
No. It's a bull that charges, not a
I
cow. But I've been at farms, and I always wondered why inside of the barns, whether they're cows or horses, that the floor is sloped to the center. And I never thought about it, but what they do basically is they just take a hose and they squirt everything down. Sometimes it's automated, and basically they push all of the feces and urine and all the nasty bits down to this center trough, and then usually there's like an auger that pushes this stuff out. They put it into a giant container, and then they use that to fertilize their crops.
They do.
Which is apparently, like, I guess, really, really good. Cow manure is, like, the best for fertilization.
It is, but it smells so bad.
It's interesting. Whenever I drive out the turnpike,
use that.
I love the idea. The smell of it, I don't like it, but it's so overwhelming.
So like you said, I grew up with that smell not being too uncommon.
Yeah.
So when I got to Penn State for college,
Oh.
East Halls, where all the freshmen, at least they used to have to live out there freshman year, is right by all of the cow fields.
So they would you knew when they were spraying
all the time. That's what it smelled like, and people hated it. And it was like, it's not so bad. It smells like home.
You get used to it.
I'm not homesick anymore. That's nice. So then there's also the scrape system. Just scrape that stuff away.
That sounds horrible.
And I love that they're like, this is the tried and true method.
Scrape it.
Sand separation and manure solid separation. And that seemed like you're just basically like compressing it down and shooting liquid in there, and that's just nasty. And of course you need lots of pipes and pumps, like you were saying, to have this go to a central evacuation point, we'll go with.
Yeah, we'll call it that.
And then get rid of it. Then there's the young stock facilities to keep little baby cows in. And then there's also a place for the old heifers like you to go.
What?
So that was a sweet burn how I slipped that in there, right?
Burn. You called me an old heifer.
Okay, and then last but not least, the animal working facilities. And I think these are just basically those long queue lines that everybody gets up in arms about because, I mean, they don't seem very humane, but...
Yeah, we'll talk at the very end about, like, the cow in the room or the elephant in the room that we kind of... You like how I did that? When we talk about the dairy industry from a more critical point of view, but we're going to keep it positive at the beginning because I like milk. I drink a lot of milk. Are you a milk drinker? Do you drink milk?
No, hate milk. Fun. We want a quick story.
Really?
Quick story.
Okay.
Back in the day, one of my good friends was the son of my family doctor.
Okay.
And I was over at his house playing, and I didn't like the type of milk they drank.
Okay.
And so I told his mom that I'm allergic to milk. I can only drink chocolate milk. And she was like, huh, that's weird. And so she's like, all right, here's chocolate milk. And I drank that.
Okay.
And then when my mom came, she was like, I didn't know he was allergic to everything but chocolate milk. And so got totally busted on that.
Oh.
But I thought that was pretty good to convince the doctor's wife.
The fact that she believed you.
Yeah, it was epic. All right. And then that's it. Animal working facilities. And this is those queues. They get sprayed down and cleaned. And a lot of good happens there. They just don't look so comfy.
Yes.
All right, so moving on. What do you have to talk about, Luke?
So I want to talk about just some statistics when it comes to
numbers.
You know me and numbers, and I'll keep this short because there's a ton of them, and we're going to hit some more later. But I want to talk about a per cow type of statistic.
Moo.
Very good. Okay, so first of all, the average cow eats 45 kilograms of food per day.
So that's like a handful?
About 7,000 pounds.
Okay, 7,000.
Because we're really good with the conversions.
What is that, really? That's what?
Oh, I have no
90 something?
Something, I don't know. Okay. So they drink the equivalent on a hot day of a bathtub of water. So 35 gallons of water per day. And then interesting, and I think I knew this, but
99.
99. I think I knew this, but so cows only produce milk when they're lactating, and they're only lactating right after they give birth, and they'll lactate for roughly 9 months. So cows are typically always pregnant.
Baby machines.
Yeah, so
that was
they're-
one of my fun facts, that a cow must give birth to a calf every year to keep producing milk. And it makes sense.
Yeah.
But it never dawned on me that that was the case.
I was under the impression that they had the baby once, and then they would, as long as they were being milked, they kind of thought they always had. Like, I thought you could
So you
trick
think
the
cows are
hormones.
stupid?
Well, I thought you could trick the hormones to
You think
always
hormones
be
are
produced.
stupid?
No, but you're the worst. Yeah, so, and then last, before we go to our shout-outs, is there are three primary, and I have a funny story here, three primary types of cows. They are the Jersey cow, they are the Guernsey, and the Holstein. So out of those three, James, there's a whole bunch of other cows.
Guernsey, Holstein, and Jersey.
And Jersey. So which one?
The Jersey ones wear like gold chains and stuff. No?
No, they don't tan.
They don't. Okay.
So out of those three, which one produces over 90% of the milk?
Jersey.
Nope. Holstein. And Holsteins are the black and white cows. So here's my funny story. So this was like before the internets were really popular, and I was 100% sure that milk only came from black and white cows.
Okay, that makes sense.
I just assumed that every other cow that you see is a cow that was raised for meat production and not cow. I just kind of made that assumption. And it's not that I was right, because I was definitely wrong, but the fact that the over 90% are what you traditionally think of a cow, the black and white.
At least you didn't think that chocolate milk comes from brown cows.
Exactly.
That's a step in the right direction.
Even when little kids think that, that's kind of dumb. I mean, sorry,
you know
kids.
that they're probably not going very far.
Yeah.
Okay. That's hurtful.
So those are all the stats I have.
Very good.
And we can move on to our shout-outs.
Well, it's actually a word from our sponsor.
Oh, our sponsor. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to give up on the Progressive Dairyman as our sponsor.
Yes. So the Progressive Dairyman. I don't know who this cat is, but I have this
He has
most.
all the stats.
If you just look up this one and you're interested in dairy farming, he has the most amazing infographic that gives you like every single 2017 statistic. So check out the Progressive Dairyman. .com. ProgressiveDairy.com.
Just type that in. It can't be that common.
You'll find it.
We don't have any sponsors.
Oh, he's not officially our sponsor.
Turns
Oh,
out.
sorry.
I feel like once we get to the point that we actually get a cease and desist order for making these claims, then we know we've made it and we can actually stop doing this.
Gotcha.
But we do not even have any shout-outs this week because I want to spend a little extra time begging.
Okay.
Please email us at unprofessionalengineering@gmail.com. We've gotten some new emails recently, and I like that.
Okay.
But also, please write us some sweet reviews on iTunes and other places. We're actually growing kind of nicely as we continue to beg.
Okay.
And I like that, too. And while you're there, just press the subscribe button. And then you can hear these sweet voices all the time.
So I want to give a little shout out to, and I did this one before, but I feel like it's worth repeating. So if any of you have a Amazon Alexa device, or any one of those voice-activated devices, all you have to do is say, and my Alexa downstairs is probably going to pick this up because we're at my house. All you have to say is, Alexa, play, Unprofessional, and it'll grab the latest episode, and you can listen right on your Amazon device.
That's awesome.
It's
I
pretty
don't have
cool.
mine set up yet.
And all it does is give the last one. But it's super cool. So make sure you check that out.
Very cool. All right, moving on. Can we talk a little bit about how cows actually make milk? The biology.
Oh, I didn't do the biology, by all means.
This is what I get into. This is the kind of science I bring you. And it's all of 3 lines.
Okay.
One's a fun fact.
Oh, wow.
So the cows eat grass.
Makes sense.
They make milk. No, that's not
Wow, that was...
It goes into stomach 1. How many stomachs do they have?
17?
17 is correct. Stomach 1 breaks down the grass. It then enters stomachs 2 and 3, where nutrients are absorbed a bit, and it's broken down a little bit more. And then in stomach 4, gastric juices get in there and kind of take care of the rest of it to turn it more into cow poops.
But inside of stomach 1, don't they do a lot of regurgitation during the day?
I didn't want to talk about
that.
that.
I don't like that and swallow it and chew it and
that's one of those words that I don't like to say.
Regurgitate?
Yeah, no good.
Sorry.
And so in stomach 4, it breaks it down a lot, and the nutrients get sucked into the bloodstream.
Okay.
And then the nutrients, once they're in the blood, it goes into the udder, and there's small alveoli, like I guess just like in the lungs, the same kind of thing that suck up those nutrients, and that's what then gets into the milk to make it nutritious, delicious milk for us.
Interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of cool. But fun fact, average cow produces 27 liters of milk a day.
27
27.
liters?
Though it's been known for some cows to create over 100 liters in a day.
I have an interesting fact since we're talking about production. How many squirts are in a gallon? So whenever,
my goodness.
Whenever they're actually pulling on the and we're allowed to say this, even though this is a family-friendly show, the word teat.
That's
we're
okay.
referring
This is
to
why
a
we're doing
cow
this whole
teat.
episode.
So we can say the word teat over and over again.
Teat?
How many squirts roughly
Squirts of the teat
are in 1 gallon of milk?
600.
350.
I feel like that was an okay guess.
It's a lot. I'm surprised.
And I think that's because I have smaller hands, so my teat squirting is probably less than other people's. So
okay,
that's what we're going with.
Oh.
Okay, moving on. How do farms milk cows? Do you have anything about that?
So I do. So I think you're going to talk about. I want to talk about some of the new ways they do it.
Okay, go ahead.
So interesting. So traditionally, it's what you think it is,
it's
like
a guy
old
with
school.
a bucket.
You're sitting down on a stool. You're grabbing onto the teats. You pull down. You get milk. Right, 350 times you get a gallon. Okay,
Give or take.
So that evolved to a semi-automated system where the cows would come into these milking stations. You talked about the types earlier, and then someone would manually grab these. They look like a stainless steel cylinder, and they would suction cup them on, and then it would milk them that way.
Of course, they wipe off any excess bedding and poops off of the udder too.
Yeah. So what they do nowadays is crazy. So they have a fully automated cow milking system. So cows wear an RFID around their neck so they can identify milk production habits of individual cows, and they can also know if the cow has any viruses. So if they sense any bacteria or blood in the milk, they know which cow it was so that they can reject it. So what they do is these cows come into these stations,
and then they
RFID.
shoot the cow.
No.
Oh.
So they wear these RFIDs. They come in, fully automated, laser
Isn't that nuts?
monitoring. So they sense where the teats are. They take these little brushes and they clean them off automatically. And then laser-guided milking suction cups are placed on the udders, completely autonomous. There's not a person doing this. This is 100%, laser measurement. Then they milk the cow. They can tell whenever it's reached its maximum production or it's done producing. It unsuction cups itself. They bring a cleaner back in, and then they rub some iodine on it, spray them off, clean them up. Crazy that
And
that
then
is.
the last step, they bring some other weird brush-looking thing in there to rub them
to get them going
Yeah,
again.
to get them going again for the next milking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely saw the same thing you did, and it's crazy that it's down to such a science that this machine is like scanning them, can tell if they have enough milk in them as well, and then rejects the cow if it doesn't, because it's not going to waste the 6 minutes that it takes.
Yeah.
That's how good this is. It's like, nope, this isn't worth my 6 minutes.
That's pretty
Out
crazy.
you go, cow.
So
that's nuts.
So then after the milk is harvested from the cow, then you have to transport this milk. So it typically is transported, and this, again, this is all stainless steel, food grade equipment where like nothing is touching it, keeping out bacteria and any kind of, problems happening there. So they transport this in a huge tanker truck that's cooled to 40 degrees Fahrenheit. So that lets it, stay at that temperature, roughly the temperature of your refrigerator. Then what they do is it shows up the processing plant. They pump it into the processing plant, and this is where like all that kind of magic happens. So milk is roughly 87% water, 3.7% milk fat. There's some protein in there, like 3.5, and then like 5% lactose. So what they have to do is they have to separate the fat to get milk to either be full fat milk, like whole milk, or 2% or skim. And what they do is they actually use a separation method to get it to the desired percent milk fat, and they basically use a centrifugal method to do that. Then once they have it at that whatever version, so
Is
if
it
you're dealing
centrifugal or centrifugal?
with,
I don't know. I'm asking.
One of our listeners will write in and tell us.
Thank you. Yeah, email us and let us know.
So then once you're at that point, now you're going to take that milk and you're going to pasteurize it. And pasteurization is literally 15 seconds. They get it up to 161 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 seconds. It kills any bacteria. And basically they have a long tube that when the milk passes through it, it is exactly 161 degrees Fahrenheit by the time it reaches the end of the tube. So it's 100% automated. And then they homogenize it. That gets rid of any additional fat particles. It breaks them down to be smaller. So imagine drinking milk and like having chunks in it. So homogenization does that. It homogenizes it, makes it all uniform. We know what the word homogenize means. And then they may add vitamin A or D if necessary. And then next thing you know, it gets bottled up and shows up on your Whole Foods shelves for $19.99 a gallon.
Or Giant Eagle for $2
or
a
the
gallon.
Eagle, yeah.
The Eagle. Well, that's interesting. That was a lot.
It's a whole lot. And
It is. A lot goes
when
into
you
that.
look at these facilities, I mean, you would think that they were like facilities that are making pharmaceuticals because it's all stainless steel. Everybody's wearing lab coats. They got hair nets on. The equipment they use is ridiculously complicated to, monitor and measure. So it's a really
In America.
Well,
I don't know other places.
yeah, other places, they're milking goats and
That sounded a little judgy. I'm
It
sorry.
sounds judgy, but we do have an association that actually controls grade A milk. Did you know grade A milk, they have to meet certain standards? And there's
kind of assumed.
actually such thing as grade B. I never heard of grade B milk. So there isn't the same standards of...
I don't like any milk, so that just sounds just terrible.
They should call
Just
it
terrible.
different. Who wants B milk?
Right? That's what they
Okay.
sell to the schools. It's fine.
No, actually, they use B milk whenever it's like powdered milk, whenever it's added to something else and there's additional processing
okay.
that happens to it. That's what grade B milk is used for.
One thing I did want to say about that laser machine, apparently I focused too much on that.
You did?
But
Okay.
just because I thought it was really
It was
interesting.
amazing.
If something goes wrong and there's something wrong with one of the cows, either not producing or like the blood in the milk or something, it literally calls the farmer and is like, there's like, I think they said there's 100 different codes that it could give and tells them like, I guess how serious the problem was. So the cow, like the farmer can go take care of it immediately.
I feel like this is huge when it comes to using RFIDs and this all being 100% automated. I mean, I really feel like this is all about that, connected. I mean, we always talk about connected engineering and design and
absolutely.
making things, but I mean, you talk about Internet of Things. I mean, this is crazy. IoT
I'm going to
for
talk.
cows.
I'm going to talk about IoT for cows right after this week's Luke's rant.
Okay, so my rant, and this is, I didn't want to do this, and I didn't think it was going to happen, but
it did.
It did. When you start researching the dairy industry, it's impossible not to come across, the PETA websites and the cruelty to animal websites and the way they treat cows and everything. So my rant is, it does seem like not a great industry. Like if I was a cow, I don't think I'd want to be a cow in a traditional conventional farm. If
I was a cow.
I'm forced to get pregnant every year. You take my kid away from me like immediately after I give birth, and then you give my milk to people, and it's and there's all the videos, and don't watch them. They're horrible.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the way they do this. So
Or do watch them, and then they'll understand.
Yeah,
They'll feel your pain.
So I feel like
As a cow.
I feel like we could do more, but we've become so dependent. The dairy industry, I got some numbers I'll share later, is enormous industry. So to kind
Crazy.
of back off of that is tough. In organic milk, which they, is better for the cows, they treat them better, is so expensive. If there was a way that they could kind of meet in the middle somewhere where they could take care of these animals a little better still, but yeah, so I'm an organic, so we only do organic milk, and I'm going to do that even more so probably now, because every now and then we would just get whatever we could get if we couldn't find organic or it was too expensive, but I'm definitely an organic milk now.
I basically only use buttermilk because I only use it for baking. So
And use all buttermilk for baking?
nah, for some baking.
Okay.
That was a lie.
Okay.
I use other milk too.
So that's
for
my
baking.
rant.
That was good.
Yeah.
I think if we always rant about these things, maybe we could get PETA as a sponsor.
I don't know if I want PETA as a sponsor. They're off the rails a little bit. Some of
Wow.
the stuff I agree with.
You're so judgy.
But some of the stuff, it's just like when they take like people and they like put them like naked in front of the U.S. Capitol, or they paint themselves up like cows with blood all over themselves. It's like, come on, I'm trying to go visit the Capitol, and my kids have to see this.
Moo.
There's a better way.
All
to do
right,
it.
moving on.
Yes, there goes our whole PETA audience.
I know. Thanks a lot, Luke.
Sorry.
Do you know what RFID stands for?
I did, but I don't now.
Oh yeah, radio frequency identification.
I knew that.
All right. Future of farming.
Future of farming.
The
Let's
moo
hear
cows. So this is just a big segment on a shout out to Ida, the intelligent dairy farmer's assistant.
Ida. Okay.
Ida is the first step in the journey to making global agriculture more productive, humane, and sustainable.
Okay, I like that.
By using sensors and artificial intelligence.
AI for cows?
AI for cows, because why not, right?
Okay.
So basically, this is just the entire Internet of Things for cows. Ida learns and detects eating patterns, rumination, walking, standing, laying, because it's going to rain, chewing cud, and other things like that.
How could that measure? Okay, I believe it, but how could it measure
Every cow's behavior is analyzed, and then insights about how the cow is behaving is then generated and sent off to the cloud.
Okay.
To the cloud, Luke. Insights are generated for the farmers who are just sitting there doing nothing in their air-conditioned farmhouses, looking at their computer screens.
Because now farming is easy, right?
Right.
Not.
And so I often think, man, I wish I had a job outside. And then I go outside and I'm like, oh, man, I'm glad
Like
I'm
the other
inside
day
all
when it
the
was
time.
90 degrees,
Yeah.
I would not want to be a farmer. I love farmers, by the way.
Yeah. So estrus is determined. Do you know what that is?
That's something about babies.
Yeah, that's the recurring period of sexual. Well,
Wow.
yeah, it's like when they're able to make some babies.
Okay.
93% accurate. Feeding. They know what cows have digestive disorders, and they can take care of that more efficiently.
I love that the infographic you're reading has a knife and fork on it for a cow.
That's
eating.
terrible.
That's the
You're not
worst.
supposed to tell people I'm reading an infographic.
Sorry.
Efficiency. They can identify cows that are better
Top
suited
producers.
for breeding and better suited for breeding in the future.
Okay.
And then also, like you're saying, they're top producers, so they know that they're more likely to produce more top producing cows.
And they
in the
can give them
future.
bonuses at the end of the year.
I think that's how that works.
I'm pretty sure it's how it
You
works.
get to live for another year is their bonus, yeah. The health, it detects cases of different diseases that cows get, lameness, and 24 to 48 hour behavior patterns, but it also detects these diseases well in advance to when they become critical, so that you're not infecting any more of the herd. The milk's the infected milk won't be bad, and you can hopefully then treat the cow ahead of time.
Okay.
Heat stress, so when it's super hot out. And coming in 2018, calving, knowing when the cow is expecting to have a calf and tracking the critical hours afterwards for distress and like rejecting the calf and things like that.
Okay.
So that's pretty cool. So there's just this sensor. Ida is a sensor that is strapped around a cow's neck, and it collects all of this data, and again, it sends it off to the cloud. It has a 1 kilometer range, which seems pretty big. You probably need a bigger setup.
So this is basically like an iWatch around a cow's neck.
Yes, it's an iWatch. You're correct.
Is that what that's called? An iWatch? Is that what they're called?
I don't, or like a Fitbit, maybe.
So it's a Fitbit for a cow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Battery life of 12 months, and it's rechargeable. Waterproof, of course. Shockproof, because big old lazy cows are falling around.
They can make a collar for a cow that doesn't need charge for 12 months, but they can't make an iWatch you don't have to charge every single night.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I'm happy that my Fitbit I charge once a week, and I think that's amazing. Yeah. These cows just roam around.
Yeah, that's bananas.
Then again, they probably have like giant tumors.
They probably
on their
weigh
neck.
7 pounds too. So
also, I think this is funny. There's 3 plans. There's 3 plans, so you can get it $3. You can get it in euros as well.
Okay.
$3 per cow, $5 per cow, or $9 per cow per month, with an $80 startup fee for the standard and pro package, but no startup fee, the $9 one for the flex package.
I feel like they should be. I feel like they're our sponsor.
If you have 3,000 cows, you're paying $27,000 a month.
Well,
but this information is that valuable, because think of all the trouble you're saving potentially down the road if something goes wrong with one cow.
So just to give you an idea of how big the dairy, and these are just two numbers. I'm sorry, one number. So you talk about the expense for cows.
Yeah.
So one country alone, Mexico, is the largest buying country from U.S. dairies. So they buy
the
from
most milk?
us. They buy the most milk.
And cheese and other things?
No, this is just milk. So this is so Mexico alone is $1.3 million. That's because my guess is they probably don't have a ton of milk down there.
They only spend $1.3 million?
I'm sorry, that's in thousands. Billion, sorry.
Oh, that sounds a lot better.
I got them out of zero. Sorry. The second one is almost, it's about $750 million is Canada. So those are just the top two. So when you think about the amount, and those are just the top two countries. I mean, it keeps on going.
I would think Canada would be a big cow country.
But they make so Canada sells a lot too. So it's interesting. So the other one is Canada is one of the number one countries we buy from. So it's weird that we buy from them and they buy from us. I don't understand it. Well, they also put their milk in bags. So
do they? They put their chips in boxes. So.
I heard they put their milk in bags.
That's weird. Canadians.
Okay, I have a couple fun facts.
I want to hear all the fun facts.
So, you ready?
I'm ready.
A dairy cow can produce 125 pounds of saliva in a single day from chewing.
Not where I thought you were going.
That is disgusting.
That is.
A cow can only walk upstairs but not down a set of steps because their knees don't bend the proper way.
I think I've seen that in movies.
And I think there's
something.
a couple other animals that have that same issue. Next, cows only have 32 teeth. They're all on the bottom.
How many do humans have?
72. I have no idea how many teeth we have. So all their top is just a pad that they smash the grass against as they're eating, which I thought was kind of interesting. Are you look like you're really thinking about that one?
I was counting my teeth, and I feel like I have 28. Does that sound about right? So they have all bottom teeth? That's
all
creepy.
bottom teeth, and there's 32
of them. They just,
of
like,
them.
grind it on up
there? It looks like my grandfather whenever he loses whenever he would lose his top teeth.
Those are some interesting facts. Do you have anything else you want to share?
Last one. In the U.S., what is the number one state, and don't look at my infographic right in front of the screen, for milk per cow?
Milk per cow?
Number one state.
Milk per cow. I'm going with Michigan.
Oh, because you're looking directly
and we talked about it before this.
Yeah, directly at my infographic. So the very last stat I want to talk about is growth. I keep on saying last.
Please, this one's disturbing, so go ahead.
This one's very disturbing. So this is a graph from 2003 to 2017. And the number of cows hasn't changed all that much. We went from 9 million cows to roughly 9.3 million cows.
9.4.
9.4, we'll say. But we've gone from 170, is that a billion pounds of milk to 215.
Oh, wait, that's in millions of pounds.
I'm sorry, 170 million pounds of milk versus 215 million pounds. So the problem is, these cows are roughly, I don't know what the number is, they're making so much more milk than they did just back in 2013. So in 2013,
they're up like 40% basically.
It's crazy.
Is that about right? No,
yes,
30%,
yes.
something like that.
So in 2003, the average cow did 18,000 pounds of milk a year. Now they're doing almost 23,000 pounds of milk per year. And that
can't be healthy.
That can't be. So again, going back to a little bit of how they take care of these animals and what they do to them, I feel like I'm probably going to be organic only after all of this. So
don't worry, farmers. I'll buy your chemical milk.
That's fine.
At 1 pint per month.
So what I need you to admit is that this was way more interesting than you thought it was going to be whenever I initially said, let's do the dairy
I thought this would be the worst of our 90 whatever episodes we're at.
Closing in on 100.
And it is not the worst.
Okay.
Unlike you, it is not the worst.
Thank you.
So with that, I think we should call it a day on the dairy farming. Everybody go out to Whole Foods, don't bathe for a couple days, and buy yourself some milk. Till next time.
See ya.